We're live. Welcome back. It's Friday, right?
Friday.
And we're at the end of the month. If you're at the just about at the end of the month, if you've started the course on the first, you'd be at lesson 30 right now.
That's right. Wow.
Right. And how about with you, Ninette? How what do you do course wise these days? What's your
Well,
practice?
now I'm FUCKing the course.
I knew it would come. I knew one day it would come to this.
Well, when you work with the course and you do the lessons you're doing, that's great. The minute you notice in your curriculum that, oh, here's where the rubber's meeting the road, now I get to apply it. That's the cross. There's the little yumminess. You're either going to start applying it or it's going to go all out the window and you're going to still be this reactive victim, everything's happening to me kind of energy. So I really got down and dirty with it because of the curriculum that I chose for myself, which was high intensity depression, high intensity anxiety, massive sort of worthiness stuff. And I thought, well, I don't like it and it doesn't feel good, and so like Abraham and Hicks say, the minute that the most important thing is how you feel, that's when you start to do the work. Because you start to realize, well, it's more important that how am I feeling? I'm not feeling good. Now I know good, bad, whatever it's all, is. Right. However, with this vessel, we have the biology of the emotional sense of self. And so that's what was my biggest blessing, was the anxiety, the depression, all of that fun stuff that makes you go, okay, I can either live my life like this or I've got to find another way, which is really what the course is based on, right? When Bill and Helen, they're like, there's got to be another way. That was the beginning of this whole shenanigan, right?
Do you find that some people might they might read the course, they might even get an understanding, but when it comes to, like you said, when the rubber meets the road, we still continuously choose reactivity. We still choose the ego. We still choose that negativity.
Yeah, only because it's habitual, and habit can have a very interesting way of feeling safe only because it's familiar. It doesn't mean that it's better for you. I mean, it's not better or worse. It is going to be what it's going to be for you because you'll give it that meaning. But in my experience, the moment I made the meaning, there's got to be something better. There has to be a different way that I can participate in this human experience. That's when I started doing the work. And Keith Kavanaugh, I got to give a little high shout out because, dude, I mean, there was a point where I was just like, sponging up every sort of twist that he had in his interpretation of certain things that really hit it on the head for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm taking that home in my mind. That's my go-to. So I would move through these intense energies or patterns, right? And I would hear Keith in my head. And I'm like, okay, there it is. There's the that sort of platform that I've got to keep going into and bouncing off of because I can't keep doing the same thing.
Keith is a good one to have guide you.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because not only is his firm understanding of the course, but he's had a deep realization of the nature of the course.
Yes. See, well, that's what this does. For me, it was the depression. I had to go so deep into it. So now that I have shifted my whole experience with it, I feel like I've moved through every little aspect of it that I really can assist or help or enlighten in that way, because I know what it feels like to go down that Alice in Wonderland, woohoo, that little rabbit hole.
Right.
Which was the biggest blessing. For Keith, it was that anxiety disorder for 8 years. That was his biggest blessing because it motivated him, right? The grist for the mill.
I'm thinking of lesson 25. I don't know what anything is for.
Yeah.
And imagine if we got that when we are suffering depression, when we have that anxiety. Instead of fighting our way through it, shoving it away, bypassing it, masking it, if we simply recognize, I don't know what this depression is for. However, everything is serving the purpose of the Holy Spirit. And there is something, there's a message, there is something for me, even in this.
Yes, now that is, yes, there is a little step I feel before that, only because I moved through it personally. You have to allow yourself to feel all of it. So that narrative might be too big of a lily pad, like, okay, and I don't know what it's for. Now you'll get there. I've gotten there. So now when I have these little flush ups now, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what that's for. I'm just going to be shown. But when you're moving through intense, visceral, where you want to commit suicide or you want to go there, that's not the lily pad that I would go to. I was really going, okay, you know what? You have to move through this. You can't jump it. You can't distract yourself. Not that I was a big distractor anyways, but hey, the distractions are out there. So,
Right.
I'm going to start to drink, Netflix, sex, whatever it is. But when those are off the table, you got to move through it. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're burning in a fire, but you are being purified. But it's not so easy to feel that or have that narrative when you're actually moving through. So I think the biggest statement that helped me was, I don't have to identify with it. Now, doesn't mean the ego is not going to rant and rage and have its show, but I started to see that I didn't have to identify with that energy flow, that narrative. So I started to create some distance, which was massively bonus for me.
So, just in case people might get the wrong impression, in no way are we talking about bypassing.
No.
As you mentioned, feel what you feel, because nothing changes until you do, right?
Nothing. Nada. No, it's impossible because you made it all up anyways. So you have to look at what you made.
Because there is a tendency these days, and not everyone even calls it bypassing. A lot of people think of it as, I'm just going to put a positive spin, positive thoughts only. And, there's a rule for, there's room and room for positivity, but not at the sake of the experience itself.
Exactly. You're right on. And, the word forgiveness, this is one thing that I found very helpful. Keith would talk a lot about the new sort of like evolved idea of what forgiveness is that it's really not opposing the moment. So true forgiveness is not opposing the moment. So that really helps with every single lesson. Because the minute you get a flush up, consider yourself lucky because it's obviously ready to be seen. Now you can take the gift or you can, like you said, kind of bypass it, do a little spin. But again, the monkey dances are going to be there. You are going to get triggered again unless you fully feel it and then it thins out. Then there's nothing.
Right. I guess in a way we can say there's really no such thing as bypassing. because nothing, as we just said, nothing goes away. It's going to
Mm-mm.
appear in a different form, in a
Right,
different relationship, in a different instant or
right.
experience. But whatever it is that is that we're refusing to acknowledge is going to keep showing up and showing up and showing up.
Yeah, and we designed it that way. I mean, this is all our party. This is our thing. This is our manifest. Right?
Right.
So it's like the more you can do that work, and then you know that you've reached another space or perspective of it is when you go through the energy, whether it's a pain or an emotion or whatever it is that's burning. When you go through it legit style, you will feel a peace after that you cannot describe. It will be a freedom. And then you'll know, aha, okay, that sucker's been thinned out. Voila.
Nice. And there's no time limit, right? You get it when you get it.
Get when you get it, and it takes as long as it's going to take.
Um, that's actually the good news, because if it keeps showing up, it means we haven't gotten it yet.
Right, right. And you get to move through it. I think that was really helpful for me too, and still is. And I use this with my clients because they'll have a grievance, and they start to realize as you show them this is an opportunity. You get to do this. You don't have to keep pointing and going outside yourself, because you're gonna be stuck there.
Right.
And then you're always going to think that that person or something outside of yourself, then you're just the victim again, which is a rabbit hole in itself.
Um, Also an addiction, isn't it? We're sort of addicted to our
Yes,
victimhood.
yes, it is. We get addicted. Like, well, same with depression and anxiety. You start to realize, wow, I'm using that as a place of, like, I'm almost defending
Mm,
my depression, or the energy of depression, or defending this anxiety. Or it's like, what am I don't even want this. Why am I defending it? Like, you don't realize how sneaky the ego is, that ego mindset of, you start to look at you're like, do I even think that? I don't think I do. That doesn't serve me anymore.
right. I like to use the term insidious with the ego, um, because as long as we're in the body, unless you're a Ramana Maharshi or um, there, you're
Hmm.
going to have the ego, and the ego will always, no matter how much work you fit in, at least my experience, the ego will
Yeah.
always look for that back door. Um, it'll find a way to creep in, even to the point of spiritualizing
Hmm.
itself.
Oh, yes. Well, and I love that you mentioned, like, these great spiritual teachers. Yeah, the ego's still there. It's just they don't identify with it. It has a very small bandwidth, whereas before it was taking over. And that's when you do that kind of work, you start to see, oh, that's just a little floop. It has nothing to do with what I really am. And when that becomes your home base in the mind, now you're not renting. You own that shit.
Um, Ninette, are you ready for our first question?
Oh, sure.
Um, if salvation is already accomplished and we live in a memory, what is the actual value of free will in this moment?
Just because you can, and you get to make it what you want to make it. I know that sometimes that's like seems kind of elusive, but think about it. I mean, why do we do anything? Because we can do it. So when you think of that as a microcosm, and then you look at, as you go bigger and bigger in bandwidth, you start to see, oh, that's just the main theme of this whole experience, is that because you can.
There's an add on to this question, too.
Okay.
And is forgiving something that never happened true healing, or just mental numbness to avoid facing objective injustice?
Oh, well, again, the forgiveness is really only needed in this perspective of separation. So we use it as a tool. And if you look at forgiveness as just not opposing the moment, now you get to see, you get to be the observer and just notice, as opposed to react and clutch and identify and keep projecting and producing or looping, as I call it in the book. You know, you repattern that loop, and now you can see it differently.
And when you experience it, when you experience true forgiveness, it's really the opposite of numbness. It's not
Yeah,
like you're not,
that's yeah, 100% opposite.
you feel alive. You feel uh, this energy comes back that you had invested so much.
Hmm.
In fact, not forgiving is really numbness. Forgiveness is awakening.
I'm so glad you said that, Eric, because and when I was saying just a moment ago about when you move through that ring of fire and you go through it, the peace that you feel is really you. That's you remembered. And so when you know that that's awaiting you through every single blip of grievance or upset or whatever it is, when you do enough of it, you start to remember, oh wait, my true self is waiting for me on the other through the other side of this, where I can feel light and one whole and complete. Now I'm going to participate in this dream way differently.
Beautifully said. By the way, Kat says, wait, has Ninette told us about FUCKing the course?
Well, okay, so we were talking about that. So it's really about, you know, a new understanding of how to look at the lessons, because I've found, just through my years of working with others and in this field, because it's part of my practice, there can be a very regimented way to look at these lessons. But if you start in the very beginning of it's kind of like the exercise of going into the I am right away. And so that's what I talk about as I'm moving through them. I'm recording them, as often as I can. So more are up online, but that's the main thoroughfare that I've noticed when I work through that. It's you've got to come from it as the I am. And so the more you do that off the bat, it's kind of like a celestial speed up, like before we had wheels and we had, horses, and then we got these buggies, and then we got the cars. Like we're graduating. This book was channeled in the 60s. Everything's changed in human consciousness in a massive way. I mean, we think differently, we look at things differently, we participate differently. So it's just what I have experienced, that interpretation that I'm sharing, so that you can kind of like move through it a little bit more efficiently, I would say. So you could really start from another level as opposed to going from, that chair doesn't mean anything. That, yeah, if I'm saying that as Ninette, sure. But now if you come to it as the I am and you start to open into that field, now everything starts to change. It loosens. It starts to pixelate. You start to see everything kind of become very malleable. And it will really change how you interact with the lessons. And you don't have to do one lesson every day. Like take a lesson and do it for a few days. Play with that. Like, everyone's in such a rush. I'm on lesson 200 or whatever. I'm like, what? Who cares?
Right.
Like, sit with it. What is it? Really experience it.
I love that you said that when you talked about the I am, because the course, Jesus in the course, is not trying to teach the ego anything.
No.
So if we're reading it from an egoic position, we're thinking, I really don't, not only do I not understand what this chair means, I don't understand what this lesson means. I don't understand what these words mean. I don't understand what Jesus means. Um,
Love that. Mm.
and we're
Yeah.
not supposed to.
No, you're exactly right. You're not supposed to. You ain't supposed to. That's how I say it. You ain't supposed to, and that can be a big kind of, hey, if that bothers you, great. Yay. Let it bother you. Notice. You know, when you start to look at these upsets as a setup, you know, I know I've said that before, but it's kind of a cool way to kind of change your narrative with it. It's like the minute now that I notice, okay, there it is. I'm like, wait, turn it around. This is a setup.
Right.
You are being set up to heal your mind of this perception so that you can participate in a way bigger, broader, fuller sense. And from my own experience, 100% that is the case.
So, Ninette, when I make a clip of this later, how do I
Yeah.
spell ain't I supposed to?
Ain't
Just
Oh, yeah, that's going to have to be a phonetic one there.
okay, I'll figure it
Ain't
out.
a post-op.
But that's gonna be a clip.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a keeper. We have another question for you.
Okay.
Ninette, is there a specific breathwork pattern you recommend for someone who feels mentally overwhelmed and needs a reset, needs to reset their mind to become a clear channel for guidance?
Yes, dude. Okay. I do these in the morning every day because that's what I need right now. And that's what I'm doing. So I'd like to show if I can.
Sure.
Okay. So one of the breaths that I do is called a tumo breath. And I sit with a nice long spine. Okay. And in my hands, when I go breathe in and out, it's like I'm playing an accordion. Okay. So when I breathe in, I open. When I exhale. And it's a fierce breath. It's not it has to be a very like, it has to be very committed, and it has to be as fast and full in the nose because you want to get to that head brain, right? And then you want to push it out the mouth fast. And with this sort of movement, what you're doing really is repatterning the chemicals and the biology in the body. So that's sort of the first thing. You got to get out of what you currently believe you're in. So if it's overwhelm, right, you have to readjust. You don't want to stay in the overwhelm and try to figure that out. Because what? We ain't opposed to.
It's supposed to.
I'm going to make a t-shirt. So try this breath. I do it. I do 30 seconds, then I do 45 seconds, then I do a minute, and I go to town. And after each time, so after 30 seconds, I just stay very quiet, breathe normally, and just sort of open to the feeling in the vessel. Because the vessel is a massive tool for us here to really wake up. And I think that's what the new earth is about, is utilizing the vessel. And then after 45 seconds, I just sit and feel. And I'd love you to try it, and I'd love to hear your experience with it, because I'm having massive fruitage from it. Hope
Do
that
you feel
helps.
a heat build up in your body when you're doing it?
Yes, because it starts to change the blood flow, everything. Because when you're overwhelmed, right, you breathe very shallowly, right? So now you're telling the nervous system you're not safe. So the minute you're telling the nervous system you're not safe, all bets are off, dude. You have to go into a very deep, because breath is our first language, right? When we came here, first thing we did, and when we leave, we're gonna, right? So it's our first and very primal language is with the body, with the vessel. So while you're still projecting a vessel, go in there and go into town with that ocean breath, fierce, 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 and allow the nervous system to remember, okay, because the nervous system's running the show, right? That's kind of our liaison between the physicality and the biology and the mental and the spiritual, because it's very electromagnetic. So we don't see an aspect of the nervous system that is a huge part of what it is and how it tunes into the field. Does that make sense?
It does, very much so.
Am I talking crazy here or what?
Yes, but that's a good thing.
I hope that helps. So
we need crazy talk.
I agree.
Because was it Krishnamurti? He said, being considered sane in a world that makes no sense is not a sign of mental health. Paraphrasing that.
No, I love that you said that, because when I'm working with my clients, and oftentimes one of the main kind of themes of the grievance is this like perceived victimhood, right? I'm a victim. And I find that when I get them to start breathing, they're very timid with their breath, right? They don't breathe in and fully take up space. And then when I have them do an I am, I do a lot of chanting and voice work, they're very like, and I'm like, no, take up space. Use your I mean, to me, that's going to be the new way to heal the vessel, because we're talking a lot about sound therapy, right, and frequency healing.
Right.
But I really feel that our own voice, we designed it to actually heal whatever it is, because it's designed for our experience. So it's a very intimate and impersonal, yet very personal way to heal, using your own voice. So, I just noticed this sort of restricted access. And yet so I love that you said that, because this is just a bunch of shenanigans, yet people are walking around like, well, but what if they think this? I'm like, there's no one out there to think anything. I'm not saying go around and throw shit everywhere, but I'm just saying break out of that.
Right.
Take up space.
Do you ever find yourself using spontaneous movements during your healing work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I just sort of listen now. I mean, this is, in the linear, this has taken quite a while. This wasn't like an overnight, hey, no
Right.
overnight success going on here. This is decades of work, being very aware, and getting to a place, like you just said, where you're listening to guidance and you find yourself doing stuff and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go with it. Right.
When you said, who cares? There's really no one else here. All aspects of the one. What a huge relief for anyone who is going through anxiety or, fear of public speaking or, anything where we're being afraid of being judged. Who is there to actually judge us? It's just us looking at us. It's just, me looking at me. That's it. A large amount of fear would simply disappear, even if we got that just a little bit.
Well, and I love that you said that, because look at that, what you just said. That's a very old paradigm of what we chose to sort of live through until we got to see, oh, that's not what this place is for at all. I mean, there was definitely a grieving couple of years for me of grieving that this place is not what I thought it was for. Like, I really had to move through the grief of that to then come to that next level of, now I know what it's for. And because I don't know what it's for, I'm going to be shown what it's for. But that's a very weird place, right? Because we talked about familiar and sort of staying in places of smallness because it's familiar. It doesn't mean that it's better for you, but you feel safe. But you're not really safe at all. But because of the familiarity, that human soul conditioning that we're breaking out of. I mean, look what's happened in the last 5 years with spiritual, content, and people coming out and writing books, and, just everything. It's changing.
Right. And the ego itself will never be without fear. It's the basis of the ego.
You know what? At this point, you're absolutely right. Right? I mean, we're still in a place where, yes, we are still looking at there's an egoic sense of self, but we don't know where that's going in human experience. But let's also look at it this way. The egoic aspect of the mind is also our best sparring partner. So there's kind of a juxtaposition there, which I find very interesting, because we made it up. We made it up so that we'd have this aspect of the mind that would, if we allowed it to push us like a good coach, it's like, come on, you can do that, rah, rah, right?
Right.
Good coach makes you a better athlete or whatever you're doing. So the egoic aspect of the mind, that is a force of activity that can really push you to the next level, seemingly, to awakening, to finding a whole new way to participate.
And, if the ego knows suffering, it does really serve as a wake-up call to let us know, I've had enough suffering.
Bingo. That's exactly right. That's it. You're like, okay.
Right. Finally, after what? For, how long do we suffer? We know, going back to addiction, being addicted to our suffering, how long do we suffer for? Until, we say, okay, I'm going to commit myself to whatever spiritual practice is going to alleviate that, whatever therapy. Because I don't want to in any way people think all they need is a spiritual path. Sometimes you need a spiritual path and therapy. Sometimes, and you might just need therapy right now.
Right, exactly. And sometimes it's through an actual physicality, like something you're doing physically can be a huge awakening experience.
Sure.
The Kundalini yoga, for example, they're that sort of tentacle of yoga is a huge awakening for a lot of people. They bring about, and I do quite a bit of Kundalini in my own way. I kind of take bits, like kind of like a tossed salad, kind of take bits and things that work. And I use that too to really open through that spine. I'm really starting to see how the vessel is a huge part. Really being in the humanness is a very different way to wake up. Yes, there's certain people are going to have their own path. But what I'm finding in my experience is that it's led me to be more in the vessel, because now I know that it's what it's for. It's not for what I thought it was.
Right.
Look at me, I'm this thing. No, it's not that at all.
And the body itself is purely neutral. A lot of times when we think, we are not the body, we are free, for we are still as God created me, that we identify the body as the ego, but the body itself is neutral, and that means that can be assigned a specific purpose by either the
Yes.
ego or the Holy Spirit.
Pick your teacher. What teacher do you want?
Right.
And you get to decide that, like I think we've chatted about this before, that from what I experience in my own, whatever this is, there's three aspects of that mind, which is the monkey mind, which we know what that's all about, flailing away like an untrained puppy dog. Then there's our true, the observer mind, which is always, that's what the truth is. But in this game, we kind of have these tiers that we get to play in. And then there's this middle mind, which is the decider, the decision maker. And I know the course talks quite a bit about the decision maker. So at any moment, as the decider, you get to choose, well, who do I want to teach me right now? And you know what you're choosing. You can't, you always do know.
That was the decider. There's three parts of the mind. That was a very big teaching from Kenneth Wapnick as well.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Baller.
You ready for another question or two?
Sure.
They've been building up here. How do we distinguish between true enlightenment and the mental escapism? Could absolute forgiveness be just a way for the mind to bypass processing complex human emotion?
Well, thank you for that question. And again, when you look at it from that you've made it all up, anything other than the observer, the I am, is just a shenanigan, right? I mean, psychology, we can really go down these rabbit holes, but again, who's observing the psychology? Who's observing the bypassing? So you're constantly being reminded, hold on, I'm going to go back into the observer. The second you do that, and the more often you stay in that space, you'll be shown. So that's the thing, that small mind wants to figure stuff out because that's its safe zone. It needs a narrative, it needs a story, and it needs to know, well, what is the plan? What's the future? What am I doing? Right? But when you back up, and I'm using back up as sort of like a symbol, when you sort of go like, and I talk about that in the FUCK, the course, when you stay in the I am for little blips at a time, you start to string those pearls together, like on the cover of the workbook, it has a string of pearls. That's no coincidence, because every time you stay in I am, you're stringing another pearl. And there you are. Now you're available to be shown, because your journey is going to be different from my journey. Right? But that's the beauty of I am. I am is like, I want to experience all the journeys simultaneously. I mean, it's a glutton for experience.
Right. And that explains, like going back to Ramana Maharshi with stomach cancer and Nisargadatta Maharaj with throat cancer. And people would say, Jesus getting crucified. How can these great enlightened people suffer that way? And I forget which philosopher that said, nothing human is foreign to me. That, we experience the fullness of being a human. That's our lesson. Maybe that was the final lesson of Jesus, that he had to forgive from the cross in order for the resurrection to take place, or a demonstration.
I do think, if I remember correctly, he touches on that very briefly in the course, where he said, that was my experience. That's not your experience.
Right.
Right. And for some, again, depending on where you are in this process of remembering, you're not learning anything. You're remembering the truth of what you are. So we're really sort of moving and thinning out the blocks of what we really are. It's not that we have anything to learn. I know he talks about learning because it's a word that's very relatable. But in truth, we're not learning anything. We're remembering.
Right.
And that has two meanings. We're remembering, and we're also remembering. So that's a sort of a double whammo there.
And that goes back to with the script being written. It means that we're literally reviewing what has already happened.
Dude, I mean, when you think about this, it is straight up loco cray cray. I mean, when you can just sort of sit back and go, wait a minute, this is a movie. Just like when I put on the Netflix and I watch a whatever. I mean, how many stories can we want in a story, in a story, in a story? I mean, here we are in the dream, in the story, clicking on a television, watching a story, and then we're watching on the television, they're watching television, watching a story.
Meta.
Right? In some scenes. And
Right.
It's just like, how far do we want to go down the rabbit hole? Now, when you start to remember your truth, now you start to watch Netflix very differently. Everything is interacted with differently. Spacious, no clutching. You don't have to figure out anything. You can just observe it. That's a dream come true.
It is, and it's also, even just understanding it a little bit, it's a bit of a game changer.
Huge, dude. And so this is why I really feel, and this is my experience. I know when Keith started doing his thing, a lot of people thought he was like, whatever, it's gonna keep blah. What I mean, to me, it was groundbreaking in many, many ways. And it helped me tremendously move through a lot of stuff quite quickly. And so I started to feel, I took some time off the course, a couple of years. I was studying quite rigorously with Reverend Myron Jones, and I was sort of in a group, and we were right? And I just needed to kind of cut it all off. That's just where I was guided. So I just kind of stopped and did whatever, did other things. But what I noticed was that when I was working with my clients, phrases would come out very authentically to share something. And I'm like, oh, that's very coursey of you, and it just kind of came out. So I started to feel this threading, this fabric being woven very on a new foundation, but I couldn't push that and I couldn't predict it. I just had to keep doing the work, taking the break, letting it weave a whole new garment. And then I saw, okay, this is how it goes. Very interesting.
I think every deep dive calls for coming up and taking another breath and looking around before we take another deep dive back in.
Yeah. And there are going to be times where you deep dive. I mean, the breath is very tiny. I mean, in 2025, I'd have to say it was one of the most intense kind of like where so much stuff was happening seemingly in the mind so fast and so nonstop. And so that sort of took me to another level of doing the work and remembering. I just couldn't go out and boop around and be social. I just didn't have the bandwidth for that. I had to stay home and I had to stay quiet and I had to feel and I had to share with my partner, and I had to stay very sort of inward.
Right. And you were guided to that.
Yeah. It didn't feel great, seemingly.
Right.
It was really not fun, seemingly. But now that I'm through that, I mean, because, I think for me, it started in 2010, where the first kind of level of, oh, shit, something's changing here, And then in 2017 was the next sort of, I'm like, oh, here we go. And so there was many years from 2017 to 2025 where it was just like, who's kidding who, dude? You can't fake that. You have to go in. You cannot not go in.
Right.
If that makes any
Right.
sense. You know what I'm
It
saying?
does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have another question about the breath.
Okay.
Ninette, when you receive a deep intuitive insight, does it arrive more clearly after a period of breath work, or does the breath simply help you tune into a signal that's always there? You can reread that if
Yeah,
you'd like me to.
I do understand that, and I think you're right on. It's the latter. It's always there. It's just I'm still entertaining shenanigans. So the second that I, choose, okay, I'm going to go in and do this work, it's always there, waiting. Just like I am. The I am's always there. I mean, you can stop in the middle of the day, be in the middle of whatever you're doing, and all of a sudden you can go, wait a minute, what am I? I am. And even if you hold that for a blip, 10 seconds, start stringing little 10-second blips, the fruitage is undeniable and it is guaranteed. Does that make sense? Does that help?
It does. It does.
Okay.
It was Squirrel Sniper who asked the question, said perfect answer.
Okay. Okay, goody.
What I'm concerned about is these shenanigans that you talked about. What kind of what kind of trouble is ego getting you into?
Well, I always call anything that isn't a piece, I call it a shenanigan
Shenanigan.
because
Okay.
it really is, you know. And so I did want to add one little thing. What I find helps is that, let's say you want to like lose weight or something very physical. So what you have to do is you have to change your exercise and change your nutrition, right? And you sort of start making little shifts that align with that choice, or you want that experience. So it's the same thing here with spirituality and remembering, you call it awakening, whatever you want to call it. Is this choice in alignment with what I want to experience? Well, what is it you want to experience? Peace. Okay, so is that choice, what teacher are you choosing? Is that in alignment with your, it's no different than making a vision board, and dead center
Right.
is like, I want the yacht. Okay, fine. So take the yacht out and put peace of mind instead. Peace of mind. So all the tentacles going out from that, is that in alignment? So if someone's trying to lose 10 pounds and I'm like, is eating chocolate cake really going to help you? Probably not. You might want to try something else. But at first, it's going to feel funky. It's going to feel, you're going to have resistance at the yang because that ego aspect of the mind likes familiarity.
Right.
It's seemingly safe there.
And is it the cake and the yacht that we really, really want? Um,
Nah.
it's representing something that we do want.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because when we find that we get
Peace.
that yacht, when we manifest that yacht, um, we also manifest a host of problems in keeping that yacht afloat.
No pun intended.
No fun. Well, maybe a little.
Yeah. No, yes, absolutely. I mean, again, how many, all these, I don't know what you call them, like motivational speakers, I guess, they talk about like being a millionaire, blah, 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 right?
Right.
And if someone is talking about being a millionaire, really you have to get to what is the feeling that you're desiring?
Right.
What's the feeling of being, what is that? Because without that, that's not coherent with $1 million. Say, I'm just using this as a relative,
Right.
right? So same thing. It's like you have to be in coherence with what it is you want to experience. So again, for me, it's always peace of mind. Like, this could be happening and blah, blah, all these like, seemingly exciting things. But now in my life, it all feels the same to me. Because I know unless I'm at peace, none of this is going to be fun. It's all going to be a shenanigan. Unless I have that peace, and then I can be guided with every step and every show and every person I meet, or this person's going to blah, blah. Fine, there I am. There I am, expressing self. I am expressing I am. Now we're meeting.
Ninette, you truly are a fabulous teacher.
Oh, wow.
Because we went with shenanigans, but you turned it into a short discourse and a marvelous teaching. Uh, everything that we brought up, uh, I love talking to you because I laugh as much as I learn, and the two go together so well.
The
And
humor,
ev-
eh?
and every single thing is teachable for you.
Yeah, well, and again, that's just the experiences and allowing that, that I am to keep going back. And you do start to see the humor. I mean, even the chorus says, hey, we forgot to laugh.
Right.
That's a big one.
It makes me think that, we were saying earlier, um, we teach what we most need to learn, that you took that same approach uh, as a student. Everything, if everything has become teachable for you, that's because everything was a learning, a lesson, an opportunity.
Opportunity, big time. Yes, 100%. And so, it's really, really important that we remember, anyone that's listening or later on, we all have our own path. The I am chooses to experience all the paths. So, whatever feels authentic, organic for you to do it, experiment with it, try moving, try breathing, use the vessel to remember, because a lot of coursers or whatever you want to call them, they really try to say, oh, I'm not the body, I am free, I'm still as God created me.
Right.
But that is not going to help you in the human experience, because you're projecting a human vessel. So you can allow it to show you what it's going to be for. And then you're like, oh, wow, what a different way to project a vessel.
Right. By the way, Kat says, I really don't have any questions. I just love listening to Ninette bring everything back down to the basics.
Oh, honey, thank you. Yeah, right on.
We do have a question. Is there an esoteric significance to the shape of our breath, like the pause at the top and bottom, that helps synchronize our personal frequencies with the heartbeat of the universe?
Wow. Someone's been smoking something. I love that. Okay, let's really go balls to the walls here. You will give it the meaning for you. So that's what I'm saying about the journey. If that resonates with you, yes, then that's what it means, until it doesn't anymore. And that might mean like that for 10 years. And then the next day after the 10th year, you're like, next. That's what it's for. Let it be that then. Yes. Feel the tip like the ocean, you know how the wave goes up, and then before it crashes, there's the exhale. Yeah, to go into that. What's it going to show you? Let it show you what it's supposed to show you.
Funny you said that, because that's was his reply. First he said thanks, and that's what it's telling me.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
And Kat says she's so good. Hi, Stitch. I want to get back to lessons.
Okay.
Was there a long stretch of time in your life when you just didn't want to learn lessons? You were tired of lessons. It was too hard. You just wanted things to be easy.
Oh, sure, dude. Yeah, especially when all the intense stuff starts to flush up. There was some times in the last 15 years where I literally found myself saying, I can't do any more right now, like literally saying out loud as if I was talking to the curriculum in my mind. And I was just like, I can't. This is it. I'm like, I can't focus. I'm falling over. I'm overwhelmed with these energies and emotions. I'm crying one minute, and then I'm like feeling like a crazy lady the next minute. I mean, I literally was moving through what someone might have thought of like, she's basically losing her mind.
Hmm.
And I was losing the Ninette mind, the small mind. But it's not pretty. Like Carl Jung, he was all about that. It was all about that whole experience of moving through all of it. And, his peers thought he was off his rocker.
Yeah, he had his little own dark night of the soul.
Yeah, dude. And sometimes it ain't no night. It's many a night, many a year.
Right. Do you find that it was, you go through that dark night and the dark nights, and you emerge and you go, I'm so glad that's over. As if you're leaving it behind for good. But have you ever emerged from the dark night only to maybe a year, 10 years later, find yourself back in the woods, maybe even deeper?
100%. Well, I love that you asked that question, because yes, and or it is a different degree of it. So whatever you do move through, one hundo, that degree is seen and alchemized. However, it doesn't mean that there's not layers. So yeah, the layer cake does reveal itself. That's in my experience, but it's a different degree of it. It'll surface other memories or whatever that you're like, oh God, I haven't thought about that in 20 years. I mean, that's a lot of what was going on in 2025. I was noticing I was having memories of things I hadn't thought about in decades. But I was like, oh shiz, I got to look at this because it's a different spin. The theme might be the same, but there's a little different of a spin that I hadn't quite healed. I'm not a fan of that word, but moved through, alchemized. I do prefer that. Yeah.
It's a good word. I like that.
Alchemized. Yeah.
Because it is, going with that, the symbolism of alchemy, there's that thread of gold.
Yes.
And we need to get through the lead of our experiences to get to that goal.
100%. And it's doable. It is doable. If you're moving through some thick, nasty ass seeming gunk or shenanigans, it is doable. You just have to, you got to move through it, dude. It's like Abraham and Hicks say, you just kind of got to get ahead of it, meaning not go past it, but you have to allow yourself to stay in that I am space, even though you're burning like a fire. That's what it feels like. I'm sure you've gone through many a flame.
Yep. What was your expression? Some sick, nasty ass gunk. Yes, I have had up to my eyeballs of some nasty ass gunk, Ninette.
Okay, I want to ask you something.
What's that?
Okay. Is there anything in your seeming present time now that you're working through? Like, is there something that you're like, oh, there's something seeming come? Oh, see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's actually a pretty fair amount of fear going through in the manual for teachers, those levels of trust. And I find that it feels like the rug keeps getting pulled out from under me because I'm still thinking there's something outside of the source. I'm looking to this as why I can put all my weight here, or this is something that I know is always going to be present. And it's not the case. That there's only one thing that can ever be truly present that I can place my trust on. A lot of it had to do with staking things on my my YouTube channel, and this is now officially my career. It's me and my phone, and Ninette. And it's a beautiful place to be because I feel on point. I feel like everything I've done before this was good, but it brought me here. And sharing this message, sharing the net with as many people who can hear it, every guest. But at the same time, can just can a 6-year-old with a phone earn an income on YouTube? And I'm in a fortunate position that I inherited a house; it's paid for. So I don't have to worry about that. And I'm living with my brother because him and I inherited the house together. So we split things. But we still have taxes, we still have bills, we still have life stuff. So while I'm talking to you, I feel 100% on point. Sometimes, before bed, there's that little niggling anxiety of, can I do it? And I'll be honest, at this point, I don't know. I want to reach that level of trust where I'm giving everything to the Holy Spirit. I have 1 foot on the precipice, 1 foot in the air, and I'm teetering.
That's awesome. Wow. Dude, I love that. Now, can I ask you another question?
You didn't expect all that, did you?
No, and I love it. But so let me, if I may ask a question now.
Sure.
So when you go when you're in that space, right, in the wiggling of the warrior, whatever you said at night or whatever, do you find yourself, okay, I'm just going to rest and notice this and not oppose it?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I had a bit of an epiphany about trust.
Okay.
That I'm using it as a noun when maybe I should be using it as a verb. I'm trusting. Trusting is spacious. And it goes right with what you were saying. Trusting means noticing. And noticing that right now, maybe I'm a little apprehensive. But when I declare that position of trust, there's no room for apprehension. So when I feel it, I push it aside. I grit my teeth and say, not this, not this. And it's a little form of bypassing. And I very much appreciate you for bringing that up.
Well, can I ask something else then? Or can I just say something? So when you said that about the noun and the verb, so what about this? And I'm just curious to see what this triggers or brings up, whatever. So what if I say to you that you are trust itself?
I like that. That, well, one of the things I like about it is you're taking grammar out of the equation, which has never been my strong point anyway. And trust myself means that I don't have to do anything.
Can you also, just for shits and giggles, can you look at that time, the wiggle, worry, and all that, as a blessing that's bringing you deeper into the remembrance that you are trust itself? Can you look at it like that?
I can. I haven't, but I can.
Maybe next time, just go, oh, hold on a minute. Let me just notice it, right? Because we're professional at like giving it a meaning, but if we become more professional at just observing it, then we can notice, well, hold on, I'm having an epiphany. Well, you wouldn't have had that epiphany that you just shared if that shenanigan wasn't revealing itself.
True.
And so it's allowing you to go deeper into complete, oh, I am trust. And if we go deeper, I am. And if we go super deep, I. See, because you're there, you're so there.
Right.
You're just playing with vernacular.
Shenanigans.
Dude, totally. It's all of it is.
It is. So thank you. This is what I mean. And Kat was saying the same thing. You are very good at what you do. Can I take a minute to actually give you a plug that you do this, that you offer coaching services?
I do. Yes.
And you
I
saw,
do love it.
You saw a bit of an example. Now, this is somebody, me, who has been doing this for a very long time. And sometimes, maybe even often, no matter how long you've been doing it, you get caught up in some gunk and you need help. And we never want to get to the point where we're on a spiritual pedestal and say, I'm a helper, I don't need help. I'm a teacher, I don't need, because we do. And It's the art of prayer, you know. And when you
Yeah.
pray for help, don't look away from where it comes. For tonight, uh, you came as an answer to a prayer. Um, and hopefully, if people know that you do this, um, this is your gig. That
This is one of my gigs,
Yep.
bitches. Yeah.
And you were actually a multifaceted gigster. Is that an actual word, or did I make it up?
No, I like it. This should be in the dictionary.
It should be.
Gigster. Yes.
Cat wants to know, is there a payment plan?
Okay. Well, I normally just either do session by session, or I'll have like a what do you call it? Say like, oh, you can sign up for a month or 2 months, or you know, it just depends on what works for the individual. So I like to, you know, be like the seaweed under the water. It's like whatever's grooving for you. Like this feels appropriate for me. Great, because you want your nervous system to be safe. You want it to feel safe,
Right. Um,
right?
got a nice compliment from our friend Squirrel Sniper, who said, Eric, I've been able to work through some really complex personal insights recently because of the way you host these sessions, which is nice to hear. I've
Awesome.
gotten very lucky with the guests that I have, and all of it has been very intuitive. Literally, the Holy Spirit will stop me and say, "This person, ask them." And with you, it was watching you over at James Plath,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought she's on fire. That she would resonate with so many people, and you have, you have,
That's great. Well, we're walking each other home, dude. I mean, I'm like Ram Dass said, you know, I'll take my teaching wherever I can get it. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm a spiritual slut. I'm just like, bring it on. What you got? Like, I need to stay on my toes too, you know, and I'm very aware of when I'm going down a wormhole, and I'm like, what are you doing?
right?
You know, but guess what? That decision making aspect of the mind is is your best friend in this paradigm, in this experience. It really is.
Um, on a slightly different tact,
Okay.
level confusion.
Level confusion. Dun, 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 dun. Well, what's your experience with it?
Um, my experience with it has been someone who was, and I wonder if this is a little bit of a case for you too, as an athlete for much of my life, um, taking the body very, very seriously. And some of my forgiveness work is forgiving myself for being 60, um, because I don't perform with the same body that I had even when I was 50. I ran my first 100-mile race like days after my 50th birthday. Um,
Whoa.
but it takes me a little longer to recover now. The weights I use aren't quite as heavy. Um, and I found myself um, almost punishing myself, pushing myself to get back to where I was instead of accepting I'm able to do everything that I want to do. I'm happy, I'm fit. Um, but when I make those comparisons, you fall
Dude.
down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, you do. That's brilliant. What a great example. That's a great example, because I notice with, you know, the I am expressions that I see in my field, in my curriculum, a lot of them talk about, oh, I don't want to age, aging, all of these, you know, very contractive, resistant statements and energy towards this aging. And so this is another, you know, I get on my little spiels, but because I'm so much about inhabiting the vessel as a tool, because I've had such a different experience, just like you, super athletic, being an aerialist and bodybuilder and all that silliness. You were a bodybuilder too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a space of body. But moving through all of this remembrance, the body has a different function now, right? So you start to have a very different relationship with the idea of aging. And we got to remember, we are still very tuned into the collective of what that means. So the more we remember, that starts to shift. So now, if just say I'm staying in linear, so I'm still in the game here, but say now here, 2026, right? Our collective energy about aging. You watch in 20 years a very different collective energy about aging. Look back 100 years ago. People were leaving their meat suits at the age of 35 and 40. Now you got I am expressions in their meat suit till they're like 80, 90, 100.
Right.
We are collectively shifting because I feel that you can have the meat suit for as long as you want. You can choose. It doesn't have to be some big traumatic thing. It has to be like, oh, I'm just going to drop it now. I'm good. I could be 200.
And with that, bringing it to those level of confusion, what we do with the body, a lot of times we want to say, I don't need to do things.
Mm-hmm.
But the course is talking to the mind. That's the level that we want to deal with. And when you take care of that, then everything else comes naturally. And you can allow the body to express itself as you want it. Like someone might say, um, you know, being a bodybuilder, that's kind of a vain thing to do. And if I fully identified as just a body, it would be.
Yeah.
But from the level of the mind, it's an artistic expression, like anything else, like a sculptor.
Exactly. See, it's all your perception and the meaning you're going to give it.
Right.
See, it all comes down to that decision maker. It's just so incredible how all the it's right down to the little bitty cell, right? There's microcosms within the microcosm within the little atom, and there's all the space. And even with these microscopes, science is still like, well, I don't know how we can't, of course, because we're dealing with consciousness and that has to be felt. It's not seen in the physical. You will see a process of it, right? But you have to feel it. It's like talking to your cells. I'm a huge, huge advocate of talking to the cellular aspect of the body because you've made it. It's no different than Frankenstein. When the scientist makes Frankenstein, when he comes to life, he's like, oh, my baby. This thing is hideous looking, seemingly, right? But he's fallen in love with it because what he made it. That's just another expression of I am, another little microcosm of I am in Frankenstein's I am. Because it was made by I am, an expression of I am. So that starts to change everything. It doesn't become he, she, them, that it becomes, oh, it's all of it, like the Russian doll. Each doll is I am.
And there's a lot of freedom at that. When you realize everything is happening from the level of the mind, then there's so much freedom. You can adorn the body how you want to adorn the body. You can do anything because you're not caught up in the I'm a body, so this is how it's supposed to be.
And that might be a phase. I definitely went through a phase when I had my sort of second, flush up of massive craziness. I mean, I would barely shower. I mean, I just became this kind of like monk in a house coat. I really just couldn't function. I kind of had to be, it's like the caterpillar, the caterpillar does the little cocoon. It becomes a soup before it becomes a butterfly. It completely disassembles itself. The I am goes, and then boom. So that's what I thought. I was in this soup. I just didn't have any purpose other than to just, kind of be very tuned into all of this energy and emotion. So you have to sometimes go through those kind of things where it's like, I need to, I'm taking off all my fingernails and I'm not going to do my hair and I'm not going to work out and I'm just going to, read the course. Great. Until you don't anymore. I mean, nothing's ever permanent, as we know.
Right.
Right? So,
I think about that because sometimes you'll get someone say, as a Course in Miracles student, uh, you shouldn't do that, or as a yogi, you shouldn't do that, and they give you these examples. And on level of the level of the body is filled with shoulds and shouldn'ts,
oh yeah.
but
But
on the
again,
level of the mind, of which everything stems from, you're
mhm,
free, you're open.
totally. Well, and again, that's just another level of shenanigan. I mean, literally, it's just like, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. Okay. You know, some people think I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, that I should be somewhere else doing something else. It's like, that really has nothing to do with this journey, and I think we get to really see that too, because that's another projection of your mind, dude. When you're watching someone seemingly criticize you, say, or have an opinion that upsets you, awesome. There it is. I mean, how much are you going to really do the work? I mean, when I was first having the massive awakening with my partner, it was difficult because they weren't going through that at the same time as I was, and so it really allowed me to develop, how serious am I going to be about this practice? Am I going to keep getting, pulled over to someone's opinion of something, or am I going to remember, hold on a minute, that's not really there. That's a projection of your mind showing you, do you really want to go down this road? It's a road less traveled, and there was a book written about it,
Right.
as we know. And it is. So those are these aspects of your mind that come at you seemingly and go, well, are you sure? Is that for you? I don't think you can do it. This is stupid. And you're like, great, yeah. It's crazy town.
How was it for you, from your partner's perspective, of you going through that shift?
Well, in the beginning, it was quite, not fun. As I'm sure many people have experienced. Now I would, at some point I started to hear in my mind, okay, you got to turn this over to the Holy Spirit, because I don't know what this relationship is for. If it's supposed to be in my curriculum, I have to trust that it'll be there. So I just kept handing it over and handing it over and handing it over. And what I started to see in my screen of space was my partner started getting on board, and he started to read the course, and he started, because he saw me changing my life so drastically. All my relationships, my family, like everything has just done a 180 since it started. So he was like, holy crap, what is she doing? And I never once said, oh, you should read this or whatever. I just stayed very much internal and did the work, because I knew you can't tell someone to do something, and that's the worst way to invite anybody to look
Right.
at something new. You just can't.
Did you find that this is the way it was for me when um, I was led out of drinking? And it really was that. Um, I think I mentioned this too before. People would ask me, uh, "Was it hard for you to quit drinking?" And my honest answer is always no, because I never tried. I had no reason to try to quit drinking. I was drinking to destroy, and my mission wasn't over. So why would I try to quit? Um, but then I was presented with an opportunity to step into a new life. Well, I've told the story before, so I don't mind telling it again. I was pulled over drinking and driving. And when I saw the light behind me, I immediately felt sober. And I knew that if I wanted to, I was done drinking. I just had to ask for it and just had to step in that direction. When the police officer, who was an off duty state trooper, said, sir, roll your window down, he did the motion. And he said, sir, have you been drinking? And again, I gave him the most honest answer, yes, but I'm never going to drink again. And he told me later that night, after he processed me, I believe you, and I hope it's true. But what I found is after those weeks and months proceeding my newfound sobriety, again, that was just gifted, it was grace. A lot of people preferred the old drunk Eric, the party guy, the one in the bars. When you went through your awakening, did you find there was some people who might have preferred the old Ninette?
Oh, sure. I mean, I was
the caterpillar
sharing,
instead of the butterfly.
right? Exactly. Or the soup. They were like,
Right.
"What is going on with you?" And I'm like,
Right.
"I'm a soup right now." That's all that I could say, you know. But yes, so that's brilliant that you brought that up. I love that story, by the way.
Thanks.
Because if we again look at all of this as a projection of our mind, so as I was remembering and coming into a place of the butterfly, say, out of the soup, I would notice these sort of resistant reflections, family members, yada, yada. So then I thought, okay, what is it that is coming up, the feeling? And I thought, oh, that I can't take up space and just say what I want to say. Let me go back because I want to preface the story. I'm sure David Hoffmeister told you the story when he decided to go to his niece's birthday party and he didn't bring a present. Did he tell you that story? Okay, so I hope it's okay, David, that I tell the story, but he decided I'm going to go to this party and I'm not going to bring a present. And when she asks me, where's my present? If she does, I'm going to say, I'm your present and I'm here because I love you. Because he knew he was uncomfortable to do it, but he knew that he wanted to put himself in that position of discomfort so he could rip that saran wrap off.
Right.
And so I thought that was brilliant. So he went to the party and he was feeling all like, "Rah, rah, rah." And she said, hi, Uncle David. And she said something about the present. And he said, well, I didn't bring your present today. I brought you, I'm your present. I love you. She's like, okay. And she ran off. And he was like, oh, holy crap. And he had spent a couple of days kind of thinking about it and rooming about it. And so this is the game. It's like, okay, how uncomfortable are you going to allow yourself? Are you going to move through this discomfort? Are you going to say what you really want to say? And so the more I did that and felt that discomfort and felt embarrassed and felt stupid, whenever, I'm like, that's good. Because now the next time you're going to go a little further. Because there's only you here anyways. Who are you? What are you uncomfortable about? Being you? And I'm like, wow, very interesting experience to keep going out and out and out, seemingly. I'm using out because it's a reference, but
right.
to keep expanding. So now when I speak to my family and friends or people I don't even know, I just share and they're always like, huh, I never thought, like, I don't care anymore. Because I'm like, you're me, I'm you, where I am. I'm going to share because clearly this aspect of I am wants to hear this, or you wouldn't be talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't be in each other's curriculum or field if there wasn't a purpose. So I'm going to speak as authentically as I can because there might be a little blip in there that they need to hear, that expression of I am. And they go away, their whole life changes because the I am said to the I am, I am.
I like that.
Right?
I want to touch upon that level of trust that David had. Because, note in that story, for safety's sake, he didn't tuck a $20 bill or, a check in his pocket. You know what I mean? If she doesn't like it, I'm going to quickly give her this $20 bill. And he's told some stories like that before. The ultimate trust that, um, and it's not. He doesn't say it like, and this will happen. He doesn't know what's going to happen.
But you have to put yourself, if you want to test the waters of remembrance, you will be putting yourself in those scenarios in your curriculum. You will attract those opportunities because that's that's how much love you have for you. I say that to my clients a lot when, my daughter this or my son, I'm like, that's how much they love you. They are showing you where you still believe in shenanigans and it's not the truth. So they're showing you, they're an aspect of your mind. And they're like, oh, I'm like, just go there with me now, because when we finish the call, you can think of the other way. It's always there waiting for you.
Right.
But just for now, let's entertain. It's like watching a movie. You're not going to leave the movie and wish you were on the scene of Singing in the Rain. But while you're watching the movie, you're completely surrendered into the entertainment of it. So just entertain this for a blip.
I think of what David Fishman, on his business card, he has bless your triggers.
100%.
People are there, those who are triggering us are really doing us a favor.
Oh yeah, dude. And I know we talked. Go ahead.
I was going to say they're not the trigger.
No.
Triggers here.
Well, and they're the UPS person going, here's your gift. And you're like, no. And you slam the door. And then the next trigger comes up. You're like, I don't want the present. No. And you shut the door on them until eventually you can't shut the door because something, and they're like, here's your gift. Freedom. But you got to move through the ring of fire.
What are your thoughts on soul contracts? Do you think that we've made this agreement in the script for these people to be, that someone is confronting you, not because they're confrontational. I mean, maybe they are, but ultimately, there's a little bit of a soul contract here that I'm going to offer this to you, and you're not going to like it, or you're going to pretend not to like it, and I'm going to pretend to be confrontational. But we'll get through this.
We'll get through it. Well, okay. So let's preface by saying, if we recall, Jesus does mention he mentions it a little bit about there's so many levels of consciousness that he could not even begin to share and express, right? So we know that in the game, right, there's levels of consciousness. So yes, in levels of consciousness, I believe there are these kind of agreements, but yet that is still in the game of consciousness. When you go out into the truth of remembrance, there's none of that. But while we're projecting a vessel and we're playing in the idea of separation, yes, we have to be very clear. You see, that vernacular is a big tool here. It's kind of low-hanging fruit, but you get massive fruitage from really shifting your vernacular of how you speak about stuff. My diabetes, my this, that person's an asshole and fuck them, or all that stuff. Okay, there's a level of consciousness. But now if you keep going back into I am, that all softens and you start to realize it's just my projection of my mind. It's just a projection. Because in truth, there's only one life, the one experience of intention, the I. As far as we understand it in this human
So we can sort of say that it's all it's a one soul contract. We're in agreement with ourselves.
Yeah, the I am is like, okay, well, I think we talked about this last time. That paper plate, the one plate is consciousness, and then it bends, and there you have I am. But the actual plate, if you open the plate, it's I. But then as soon as it folds over to a taco, you have this perceived reflection. I am. Hey, what are you doing? But it's the same consciousness.
Right.
So there's no, and then it reflects, and all of a sudden you've got all these Shana
Right.
right?
So I think this is about my third month or so of doing the guest, and this is the very first I am hand puppet show that that we've that
Totally.
we've ever had, and I loved it. It was a beautiful example.
I forgot to bring my socks, so I'm sorry about that. But
Next time, I'm going
next
to
time,
remind you. We're gonna
yes,
do that.
yes, totally. I mean, that is probably the most brilliant explanation, and it's not mine, um, of consciousness. I mean, it's like David Hoffmeister with the spaghetti, the hard
Right.
spaghetti. He talks about that, the linear, and then you turn it the other way, and there's now. So there's two levels going on. They both seem very real, but there's only one real reality: the paper plate or the now pin on the spaghetti, right?
Right.
So, but we get to play. We get to play in all of these different levels. And now
I think
at times it won't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that's key. If
Yeah,
we can think of it as play, not take
that's
it
the
quite so
key.
seriously.
Yeah. And again, when you're moving through some chunky funky, it's not going to feel like play. And that's okay. That kind of rhymed. But that's okay because that's a value at that moment. There's the value. You get to move through it because then you move through it, you have more remembrance. It's like being an athlete, right? If I go through the dieting and all of that to get to the competition, even though it was hard as a Momo, I experienced something that I wouldn't have if I hadn't moved through those months of that hardcore, dieting and all of that stuff to have that experience. So same thing with that ring of fire. If you're feeling some, nasty stuff, great. I know it sucks balls, but keep moving through it.
Um, Taking a little different tack. What's going on with Ninette? What what's new? What Any new projects? I know that you're working hard on your YouTube channel. I like it. I appreciate it. Um,
So
any any new books? Any new projects? What's going on?
there is another book sort of formulating. I'm just kind of allowing that to be whatever it is, fits and starts and whatever. And on a sort of a showbiz side, we've got a lot of stuff cooking in that way. And what's very interesting about that is that it's such a different way to be a part of it, moving through this last year especially, and now having all of these sort of opportunities coming up in the curriculum. It's such a different way to be on stage and to interact with, you know whatever, the shows, the contract, whatever it is. It's just like, hey, there it is. you know
Um, you know what you would be really good at? This.
but
You would be really good at bringing guests up. I think you bring out the best. It would be fascinating watching you talk. I'd love to have you and David Hoffmeister have a talk. Uh, you and really you and anyone. Uh, just something to consider. I'm just planting a seed. I think a podcast or live stream, however you want to do it, would be a pretty amazing thing. I think you'd be a natural at it.
Well, it's so funny that you say that because I started doing this on Spiritual Nerd. I had a Facebook channel, Spiritual Nerd, and I interviewed Hoffmeister and like all the cats, Kate Greaves and all those people back in 2018 when podcasts were just kind of getting started,
Right.
you know? And then I completely stopped because my whole life had kind of turned inside out. I had to move through that healing, that remembrance. I had to move through all the crap. So yeah, that could be something I could mull over.
Right.
So thank you.
Um, one day, when I get technically advanced enough, um, I'll learn how to have one or more guests up,
Oh, that'd be
and
cool.
I'd love to invite you up, and we could get another guest and just have a little like 3 or even 4 people round table.
Yeah, and you know, it'd be cool. Remember, before we started today's show, we were talking about maybe having someone come on that wants to move through some actual energy to integrate, because I would love to actually do something live in real time with someone that is not planned or anything, just very authentic and natural, to see where it can go, so others can sort of see, oh, that's how I could do it. I could move through, you know, because Keith was really big on that. People would ask questions on his Zoom, and he would do real time right there. I mean, he didn't give a shit. He was just like, let's go.
Right.
And that's how I do with my clients. I'm like, let's go.
Um, it's funny. I think about Keith. I think about Kate. You mentioned Kate.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I hear people say that they wonder if the course will take you all the way home, all the way there. Um, and I personally, I think Kenneth Wapnick was all the way there. I think Bill Thetford at the end of his life was all the way there.
Yes. Right.
Um, Kate talks about her awakening on Buddha at the Last Pump,
Hmm.
and I think that Keith might be all the way there. He's definitely reached that non-dual state of um, being in the world.
He will be the first to say that he isn't. I've heard him say that many times. Um, Again, I mean, what is all the way there? I mean, again, you still will, to whatever degree, the ego will still be there, that aspect. It's how are you identifying with it? What are you allowing? It's not that stuff's going to come and go in the mind. It's what's the teacher? What are you deciding? What's the decision maker deciding? And so, you know, again, when you're in the human vessel, you know, I think that's what makes some of these spiritual teachers more like Ram Dass. It made him so endearing because he knew he was still, you know, narcissistic and, you know, had sexual deviance stuff in his mind. He talked about it all the time,
Right.
but yet it made him so relatable to the people that were like, yeah, dude, I feel like a freaking dingbat all the time. And he was very upfront about, you know, I've got a lot of guilt. I'm a Jewish this and a that, and I still feel this shit and that shit. But here's the deal.
He was definitely America's yogi.
Oh yeah.
He lived his generation out loud. The
Yes.
whole gambit to even that we were talking about the spiritual ego, even living that
Mm.
spiritual ego out loud, and then that his stroke kind of laid him low, and he emerged a quieter, more reflective Ram
Mm.
Dass.
Yeah.
This was the Ram Dass who said, we're here, as you mentioned several times, just to walk each other home.
Yeah.
Um, what a perfect, if we were thinking in terms of soul contract again, what a wonderful thing for someone to do. That the life of Ram Dass is just such a beautiful,
And
just a beautiful expression.
well, it is as the onlooker seeming. Yes, I think though, if you were to really ask him, if you know, if he was still here in the physical projecting, I would say he probably went through a lot of stuff. I mean, constantly you know, the negotiations back and forth, you know. No, I can't, you can't speak for everyone, but I just, because of his sort of demeanor and his energy and how he spoke, and he was so still very here. You know, his answers to everything wasn't, there's only love, there's only love. Yes, there's a place for that. If that's where you really are, then that's authentic frequency, and that's what people will pick up. If there's only love, right? However, that's a huge lily pad to jump to when you be wanting to slit your wrists. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Big lily pad to jump to, and you got to be kind of, like Jesus says in the Course, I'm looking for relatable, real interpreters. It's all going to change. The Course was meant to be changed, interpreted. And that's why I started the FUCK, the Course, because it's like this. That's how I feel. Like I really see the value in it, yet it needs a facelift. Like the interpretation that I feel that I'm sharing is very authentic because I've lived it.
Can you give people the acronym for that? FEC, the Course.
Yes, fresh understanding clarifies knowledge.
And it really is just said, coming at it through a different angle.
Yeah. From my experience and realizing that it's not just about, you know, you said it brilliantly earlier on about, you know, you do the Course, a lot of people have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, and they kind of get stuck in a bit of a rut until another perspective comes along and it's like, oh, ooh, yeah, cool.
Right.
You know, and so that's how I feel about it. I feel like I've had quite a dance with the Course, but it's massively massive. I mean, it's the Hefe, dude. It's the Hefe. If you want to go full legit style on non-duality, you know, there's nowhere to hide. I know we've talked about that last time, but there's absolutely nowhere to hide in that.
Which a lot of people don't like.
Nope.
Because
I don't even like it, yeah.
Right. A lot of people want a spiritual practice so they can hide.
Right.
They can put forth that spiritual identity. And they don't need to, you know, and you see it come out if anyone's confronted. You know, very few people want to say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why you're going through what you're going through. I don't know why I'm going through what I'm going through. Yeah. And the course meets you where you are.
Yeah, it does. Well, it's like getting a gym membership and just to say, yeah, I got this. I belong to that gym. Yeah, but are you going?
Right.
It's a whole different thing. So that's why I find a lot of people that I've, you know, met over the years, whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've read the Course. I'm like, oh, so what's your main sort of like takeaway of it? Well, you know, I mean, it's like just dancing around the whole thing. And I'm like, you don't know the Course, which is fine. And no judgment. I'm just saying there's the difference.
I was talking about this a couple different guests. The Course, you could dabble in the Course, use it as a self-help program,
100%.
and it would work for you.
Yeah.
That's not what it was designed. It's not what it was designed for. But you can get a whole lot out of the Course just by, you know, diving in here and there, getting some great quotes that resonate with you, and you might find it workable for some points in your life. But if you want the experience, if you want to awaken, you need to allow the Course to smack you in the face and even lay you low, strip you bare, and you know.
Well, it's the Cole. You can Cole's note it. You can just sort of do the Cole's notes version of the Course, right? Like you said, oh, there's a good quote, and you guess what? Somebody could come along, and maybe some have. We don't know. that read one lesson or one statement and had a, that's it.
Sure.
I mean, you could take one lesson and work it for the rest of your life and be at the same level as someone who's done it for 30 years. It all depends on
Right.
how are you going to surrender to that.
And lesson 28 summed that up perfectly. That if you could really see, and they use the example of a desk, you could experience complete awakening just by looking at a desk. And I love that the course is holographic, like you said. If you got one thing, if you truly, truly got it, you would get the entirety.
100%.
So let me ask you this question, and we're going to wrap it up on this question.
Okay.
Diving into that holographic text, what would you pull out? What would be that one thing for you that always takes you back home? If you find yourself lost, this is your return point.
Well, a couple of things, but I think one of the big things is, you know, those 3 lines in the beginning that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, herein lies the peace of God. Now, those are 3 statements, but just saying them now, I had massive, you know, goosebumps. Because if you just lived that, you wouldn't need any lesson. I mean, he basically, or the channeling of that energy basically summed it up in those 3 lines, and then went for 2,000 or so pages and kept hitting you on the head with the same thing because, you know, the I am wants to play separation until it doesn't anymore. Right? So for me, I would say that those 3 lines, and then the other one I would say that's really helped would be, you know, I can't take credit for it, is when Keith would say, true forgiveness is do not oppose the moment. Whatever is occurring within your mind, do not oppose it. And that is, you know, a massive go-to. As soon as I feel the flash up, I'm like, don't oppose this, girlfriend. Go right in. And sometimes I'll excuse myself. I'll be somewhere and I'm just like, I got to go right now and be in this, because I know that if I truly commit to the surrender of not opposing, there's peace, remembering of peace right there through this saran wrap.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
Do not
huge.
oppose.
Do not oppose. I mean, that was brilliant. When he said that, I was like, dude, you know, what would it be for you?
I have 2 as well. And I got this from Dove Fishman a while back. He suggested working with lesson 25. I don't know what anything is for, because we're so quick to assign purpose and meaning. We're so quick to believe that we understand what this is for, and we don't. We don't at all. And I see all kinds of stuff, even happening here on my channel, like a little bit of drama or whatever. And I think, this is horrible. This is awful. You know, I set this place up to have this place of peace for people, you know, that they'd have this little isle of, Herman Melville called it the insular needy. And, you know, this shouldn't be happening. But again, I'm assigning meaning to what was occurring. I don't know. I don't know why that's happening. And as it turned out, everything that happened has been for my benefit. Everything that I bemoaned a week before, 2 weeks before, whenever, has turned out for my benefit. So I don't know what anything is for. And lesson 122, forgiveness offers everything I need, everything I want. Because I spent a lifetime chasing enlightenment. One new meditation technique, one different yoga posture. If I mastered this breath, having that spiritual carrot stick dangling in front of me. And I was always refreshing the carrot. Just when I think I had it, you know what I mean? I needed a whole brand new carrot to chase after. But forgiveness truly gives me peace. It gives me everything I want. It's instant Zen because you're in the present moment. You don't
100%.
forgive. You don't go to the past and forgive the past. You don't go to the future and forgive your future. Forgiveness takes place here, right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But one line I always go back to is that the one holy true thing that one could say about the past is that it's not here. I love that line.
Well, and how interesting that all these modalities, where do they bring us to? Now, every
Right.
single one of them. And yet now is what we really are. And yet we're just having some shits and giggles pretending we're not now. That's all that's going on because none of it's real. So we're just not nowing until we decide to be now.
Right.
It's pretty funny.
It is. I always wondered why Ram Dass didn't write a sequel, to Be Here Now, that because there ain't no other place that you're gonna find yourself.
Do you know how that book came about?
It was sort of accidental, right? He was told not to write it, I believe, by his guru.
Oh, interesting. Well, the story I heard is that he was with a friend and he was still very the anxious guy. And he was somewhere with his friend. And, Ram Dass was running around and his friend said, dude, why don't you just be here now? And he was like, okay,
Someone ought
that's
to write a
brilliant.
book like that.
Yeah, hey, boom. Yeah, interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's funny how that there's little, back to the word epiphany. You never know.
And the more you can stay in that space, you'll get to be shown what that is leading you to. There, you know what I mean? It will just keep unfolding like a carpet.
Speaking of epiphanies, you have dropped many, and I appreciate
That's
it.
great.
By the way, our good friend Anna Marie says co-host is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to be ready for part 3. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank
We're
you.
we're in that 2-hour mark coming up, and
what?
again, it flew by just like it did last time.
Yeah, it really did. Thank you for all your work, Eric. I mean, it is just such a blessing. Don't forget that.
Thank you.
Really important.
And hey, I did not expect to be on the receiving end of your counseling. But I very much appreciate it. There was a bit of a breakthrough, and like you and I talked about, doesn't matter where you are on the ladder, you can get stuck on a rung.
100%.
And you know what? Sticking with that ladder metaphor, my hands were getting very tired from gripping that rung so hard, and you eased it quite a bit.
Oh, dude. Well, it's an honor to be sharing this space with you, dude.
Thank you. One more thing from Anna Marie again says, so thankful I got to be a witness to this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, honey. That's awesome.
And I know Kat was very excited for you to come back.
What up, girl?
So thank you. Let me know when you want to come back and we'll do it again.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
Okay. Bye.